We're back. Thanks for tuning into this edition of Here's to Your Health. I'm your host, Josh Lane, and in this segment, my friend Shawn Sikora, astrologer to the stars, is here today. Happy to have Shawn back. He was on a couple weeks ago, and that's a very nice response.
Thank you, Josh.
And so I decided to bring Shawn back. Shawn, the last guest talked about the death of a child, which was pretty somber, very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And is there any, and the guest also mentioned that the son passed away at a very young age, and she thought that was not exactly okay, but that some of us are here for a long time and some of us are here for a short time. And does astrology work with that?
Yes, astrology, we try to listen and work with everybody because you really have to cover everything. And more specialized, I like to connect with people. I've been through some stuff and some experiences, not the loss of a child, thank God, but that's the toughest thing when your children pass before you. It depends on where people are at, how you want to handle it. That's about as intense as it gets. Some people, if you're open to, past lives or your reincarnation, you tell them that they'll be back soon. They might already be back, or there's different theories that, people are in different places multiple times. We're really getting into that if you get into the thing of aliens or whatever, everything's all here in just different dimensions. So they're always with you. Our loved ones are always connected. So I try to, make that, but it's, there's a whole grieving process and there's no real quick answer to that. That's a real challenge.
Right. But as an astrologer,
Mm-hmm.
is it possible that you can look at a person's chart and have a sense of an accident could occur now, or an illness could occur now, or this person potentially could have a shorter lifespan, or is that completely out of the...
As a rule, astrologers don't like to talk about predicting someone's death,
right,
or whatever.
Right.
But after the fact, we'll look at it and see and learn where there's problems. So you build a knowledge of possibly what can go. Actually, I've had stuff predicted in my life, and they basically said, I think the golden rule here is just to always connect and be with people you love. We're personal friends. I care about you. Always connect and live every moment in the now. And that's about all you can do. I mean, you don't know when it's going to come. I'll give you one example of actors. You can see something in their chart like, oh my God, this is horrible. I won't even say it, but it's like, you kind of look like you could die or something. But they don't die. They have a part in a movie, and the character dies. So if you do have a bad aspect, it's good to act it out. Kind of my general strategy, what I've been taught by a lot of teachers, is just be proactive. If you lay back and what's going to happen, stuff will happen to you. But if you're proactive, and that's when I give people a reading, you focus. Hopefully they have an intention, and you focus, and you're proactive and put out energy. And I always tell people, if you're working your derriere off and doing as much as you can, I don't think the universe will put things in your way. I mean, there's always obstacles, but it won't stop or hurt you. And if you do get hurt, sometimes it's the right timing. Get delay, like Nancy's sick right now. If someone's sick, it gives you time to contemplate and just rest. Maybe you're doing too much, or maybe you need to think, and it's opportunities. But that's the passing of a child is really difficult. But,
and may I ask, is it possible that in retrospect you can look at certain aspects and think, okay, well this could be indicative, or is that just completely wrong? Can you look at a chart and make a determination that this person, if you could look at a chart and see if a person has health issues, can you see that person has health problems?
Yeah, a lot of times we talked about that, the sixth house, a lot of times indicators, the old term slings and arrows, the health, daily routines is kind of a newer way we look at it. But by your planets, depends on the time. Again, we've talked about, everyone knows their sun sign, the time of year, but
right.
The time of day with respect to the time of year, it shows your ascendant or your rising sign, like the 9 p.m. Area on the wheel, and that's your physical body on another respect. So you can see the rulers. There's all this cross-referencing. We all have the same planets and signs, but
Well, I know it's terribly involved, and I'm sorry.
But there's many different indicators. Yes, I mean that's what it's all about. Is getting a feeling for it. But I've never been like to be labeled. I don't like to label people. I really like to have a dialogue and see where they're coming from and work with them, and not just give them a dazzle of, oh, I know this about you, and who cares? I want them to succeed.
Right.
I want to practice saying succeed.
Succeed.
I want everyone to succeed, and this is just another tool. It's like, you have vitamin C, and if someone needs that, you say, oh, take some vitamin C, and even if they don't, maybe they'll take it as maintenance, but that's not your only vitamin in your store. It's just so many things. So it's very specific when you work with people, and I really try to connect and see what will you do a lot of work. You look at their chart, and then you step back and let the person be them, and the chart grounds me and keeps me on that point. But it's really I don't have a fixed theory, or my style isn't to dictate a bunch of stuff. I really like to talk to the person and then let them bring up all the pre studying of their material, so it kind of blends, and it's their reading. Not me showing off and saying, well, yeah, in 2 months you're going to do this. I mean, if there's like, well, what's happening in 2 months? Like, well, I can see patterns, and a lot of people have dates, and you can.
But that's not showing off. Isn't that expertise? Isn't that why they hired you?
Well, maybe. I mean, I try to keep it real and not have the ego. It's like we had Don, the yoga guy, and it's about being yourself, true to yourself, of course. But when I'm doing a reading, it's the person's reading, not me giving them a reading. I really,
I got you.
And sometimes I'll just have people say, point out something in your chart, and they'll pick it out whenever, metaphysically they picked it.
Oh, intuitively, this is what they need to focus on.
And we'll talk about that, and they're like, yeah, that's what I needed to hear. So I try to keep it very open and flowing, and not determined, and
Okay.
Reading Robert Pirsig, it's like.
Who are you reading?
Robert Pirsig, Phil Jackson, one of his authors that he recommends of Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, and it talks about there's manuals and specific stuff like the math on the astrology, and then there's the artistic interpretation, and they hopefully have a nice blend on them, and it's not just stats, and it's not just this is really nice and fine art, but trying to find a nice balance and a blend, and understanding when the ratios are different, but working however the person is.
All right. Well, thank you for that
Sure.
prologue, and so that brings us to today. So. Can you tell us what's going to happen in the next week here, so we can predict?
Yeah. Well, it's really interesting. Again, it's cross-referencing, and the inner planets that I put on the chart that are there. I put them on the inside wheel. Those are the personal planets, and they're the way things are cross-referencing right now.
Ness, are we catching these? Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ness is always on. He's
Very
great.
good.
Let's. Where's that applause for Ness?
Hey.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You can't see him, but he's always there. So anyways, like I was saying, everybody's charts cross-referencing, and the transits are what we're talking about now, where the positions are right now.
Uh-huh.
Where's that moon today, Josh?
Gemini.
Yes.
Oh, thank you very much.
There you go. Advanced astrologer.
Thank you.
Josh.
Thank you very much.
So the way things are cross-referencing is, like, for instance, I wanted to talk about relationships, and we keep saying the Saturn, telescope here. The Saturn is in Libra, so the cross-reference, we see Venus right here, and that represents Saturn. So again, the cross-reference, it's like whenever something's in the sign of Libra, we have to look at, we don't have to, but a lot of astrologers do, especially ancient astrologers, and look to the cross-reference or the ruler, and how it's dignified is another way to say it. So the Venus is hanging out here in Gemini, and it's going to be there a long time. It's doing a retrograde, so we talked about the Saturn it's reap what you sow, and you have to work really hard, and it's in that sign of relationships of Libra, and trying to work things out with people. And I might as well ask it if you want me to show up. Is anybody having relationship issues or problems right now? Or, of course, we all do, but it's very much emphasized with Saturn and really working to improve them. And if you're not putting enough energy, like I said, you got to put in to get something out if you're not putting in enough. So if people are having problems with relationships, just try to do a little bit more, a little more communication, spend time together, love note, poetry, anything you could do. I mean, we got this media now. We can talk to just about anybody anytime. So anyways, with Venus in Gemini, again, it talks about communication. Is Gemini's its planet is Mercury.
Okay.
So, and we've talked about Mercury where it's ruling that Venus. So it's in Aries. It's very aggressive and it wants to go fast. So that's kind of we've got all these mixed feelings that it should just be fast and it should work out and the relationship yeah. And Aries is very good at initiating, so it's good to get started. So use that energy to get something started. But then working the Libra and the Gemini is more communicative and writing out poetry or writing a note that, even if you can't make a call or you miss a call, it's like, oh, I got to call my honey later today or something like that. And really just work on the relationship. And another challenge we're having is the Mars and Venus are at right angles, and those are again the relationship with the Libra and the Aries. They're naturally, it's like the Mars and the Venus are kind of like the guy and the girl hanging out, having a relationship. So it's really challenging now when they're at a square or a right angle, basically in the sky. It's very, very tough. The square, it's like forcing energy. You really have to do something, or it's going to break apart, or it's not going to work. So, again, it's that balance we talked about with vitamins or whatever. You got to, be aggressive and yet be laid back too. And the Mars and Virgo, the guys are kind of like, Virgo's very busy and detailed oriented, so maybe they're working too much or they're tired. And then the Gemini energy with Venus there is talking, and maybe the girls are talking a little too much, or they might be gossiping a little bit. Sometimes if we do the Four Agreements book, it's like just use your words for what you really want to say and nothing extra. That kind of basic stuff.
Good advice. Most of us can't follow it, but it's lovely
That's
advice.
Kind of
anyway,
semi-prologue, I guess.
Yeah.
But I'm always reading my little pocket calendar, the Jim Maynard, and tomorrow I notice is Secretary's Day, the 25th of April.
Okay.
So let's hear it for our secretaries. Yeah. I think we're all secretaries now. They're multitasking.
That's right.
But I wanted to give a fair warning because the Mercury's going to come up and square Pluto, which is very intense, and Mercury's communication. So you could have some very intense communication. So if anybody's planning on gifts or acknowledging their secretaries, plan it, do it now, and be very good with them and tender footsteps, and make sure to acknowledge that because it could be a little pushy tomorrow, a little crazy. Also, Mercury is automobiles, so drive a little extra careful because square Pluto, again, things can happen. So be proactive and aware of your driving or your communications, so things don't just happen to you laying back like, oh, Shawn said whatever, and then I could say whatever, and it could blow up in your face. So be a little extra nice and a little extra open to change, and just communication, how things just go with the flow.
That's for the next 2 days.
Yeah, that's really powerful for the next couple of days. Yeah, and then the weekend coming up, it's kind of nice. We have Mars is trining Pluto, which can also be a big change, but the trine kind of makes it a little easier. So it should be kind of hopefully for most people, a nice weekend. The moon goes into Leo early in the morning Saturday.
Actually, and for those listening on iTunes at their leisure later on, can you give us the exact dates you're talking about?
Sure. This is the Secretary's Day is April 25th, and then this coming weekend is the last weekend of April is the 28th and 9th, and that's the moon early in the morning, and these are all Pacific daylight times for people if they can adjust. We're 7 hours ahead of Greenwich now, so wherever they are in the world. So 9 in the morning, 9:10 in the morning, the moon goes into Leo this weekend, so that can be, Leo loves to party and have a good time, so this could be quite a interesting. Maybe it's like another first weekend of the summer. People will really be into it, so it should be good. And so I just want to kind of continue the following. May Day is the next Tuesday, so that would be May 1st. And there's a lot of trines too, so that's another day when people celebrate.
What are trines exactly?
Trines. Thanks for asking that. Yeah. That's a triangle or a 120 degrees when things form a triangle.
Okay.
Or at least one angle of a triangle.
Right.
If you have an isosceles, an equilateral triangle, success and triangle, it's 120 degrees. So that's kind of the most harmonious. That represents all the aspects correlate with the different elements too. So the trines are the fire. So that, again, that's like a passionate, fun, excited, go for it kind of fun energy. And it's going to be a Leo. This week is going to be a Leo weekend. Yeah.
So that means a lot of showbiz stuff happening. Is that it?
Big in the media and whatnot. And that thing I mentioned earlier with the Mercury square Pluto, again, that our communications and the Pluto can be, basic word is change, but it can be violent. And of course, in LA, we're seeing meta world peace kind of got a little violent, but hopefully that works out, or we all learn from that, or
Sure.
hopefully. But that's the kind of thing it can, it's like 1 second you're celebrating, and there's so much energy, it elevates. So again, the forewarned is forearmed. It's like keep that in mind, people, and don't
Well,
go.
isn't this the weekend coming
Little,
up of the LA riots of 20 years ago?
Is that
Which is actually was a very big deal in Los Angeles 20 years ago. There was a lot of destruction and death. I think possibly maybe 50 people were
yeah.
killed. So it's really quite of a remarkably bad event for LA.
Yeah, I was actually, has it been that long? I was actually working in Hollywood up in a sixth story of a building, and I could, see an old building with a fire escape, and a guy at the end of the building was seeing the plumes of smoke coming, and it was not good. But these things of expression, I thought we weren't going to get into it, but we can always get into a longer occurring aspect. We've been kind of positioning with the we had trouble with the stock market and the economy, and all this is the Pluto and Uranus square, which is a lot of, I've talked about. I have a couple clips up on my YouTube of doing our business, initiating, starting things, genius, creativity. Like Ness looked up 84 years ago, Uranus was in the Aries. Aries goes forward, lots of chutzpah, just moves along, that kind of energy. And Uranus is inventive and creative. So a lot of people are working on creating things and inventing. And it's squaring that Pluto and Capricorn, which is change in business. So of course we're all, how simple is that? We're all obviously
Change in business.
learning as much about business and changing and
Sure.
reinventing ourselves and making inventions. And like that food product we had on earlier, just the Beak Room. It's just we're all trying to advance and be creative, and it is affecting our business. And whether you're doing your own thing, go for it. I mean, there's a lot of change going on. It's definitely a time to be inventive and to you're harmonious with the universe, and there is definitely profits and achievements to be made. And if you are working for somebody, still look for the new, and you can have some volatile bosses, but try to work it out. Step back and be the bigger person, and try to get everything to have a flow to it, but bring your best game and be open and inventive to new ideas and new situations.
Certainly sounds like good advice. Shawn, by the way,
Yes.
why don't you give us your email, your contact information, so we just have that. At
Oh, the
this
old,
break.
it's, I got a simple one. It's astrology1234.com.
That's very good. Okay, so we're talking to Shawn Sikora, Astrologer to the Stars. He's our host, he's our guest on this section of Here's to Your Health. And we're going to take a very short break, and we'll be right back with Shawn after these important messages.